Verb, play. Simple past. I played football. Past continuous. I was playing football. Past perfect. I had played football. Past perfect continuous. I had been playing football. Verb, eat. She ate an apple. She was eating an apple. She had eaten an apple. She had been eating an apple. Verb, go. We went to the park. We were going to the park. We had gone to the park. We had been going to the park. Verb, read. He read a book. He was reading a book. He had read a book. He had been reading a book. Write. I wrote a letter. I was writing a letter. I had written a letter. I had been writing a letter. Cook. She cooked dinner. She was cooking dinner. She had cooked dinner. She had been cooking dinner. Run. They ran fast. They were running fast. They had run fast. They had been running fast. Jump. He jumped high. He was jumping high. He had jumped high. He had been jumping high. Sing. She sang a song. She was singing a song. She had sung a song. She had been singing a song. Dance. I danced at the party. I was dancing at the party. I had danced at the party. I had been dancing at the party. Sleep. He slept early. He was sleeping early. He had slept early. He had been sleeping early. Talk. We talked yesterday. We were talking yesterday. We had talked yesterday. We had been talking yesterday. Drive. She drove home. She was driving home. She had driven home. She had been driving home. Swim. He swam in the pool. He was swimming in the pool. He had swum in the pool. He had been swimming in the pool. Walk. They walked to school. They were walking to school. They had walked to school. They had been walking to school. Laugh. I laughed loudly. I was laughing loudly. I had laughed loudly. I had been laughing loudly. Cry. She cried yesterday. She was crying yesterday. She had cried yesterday. She had been crying yesterday. Buy. He bought a gift. He was buying a gift. He had bought a gift. He had been buying a gift. Sell. They sold the house. They were selling the house. They had sold the house. They had been selling the house. Wash. I wash my hands. I was washing my hands. I had washed my hands. I had been washing my hands. Clean. She cleaned the room. She was cleaning the room. She had cleaned the room. She had been cleaning the room. Draw. He drew a cat. He was drawing a cat. He had drawn a cat. He had been drawing a cat. Open. I opened the door. I was opening the door. I had opened the door. I had been opening the door. Close. She closed the window. She was closing the window. She had closed the window. She had been closing the window. Fix. He fixed the car. He was fixing the car. He had fixed the car. He had been fixing the car. Build. They built a house. They were building a house. They had built a house. They had been building a house. Catch. He caught the ball. He was catching the ball. He had caught the ball. He had been catching the ball. Throw. I threw the ball. I was throwing the ball. I had thrown the ball. I had been throwing the ball. Teach. She taught English. She was teaching English. She had taught English. She had been teaching English. Learn. I learned French. I was learning French. I had learned French. I had been learning French. Call. He called me. He was calling me. He had called me. He had been calling me. Answer. I answered the phone. I was answering the phone. I had answered the phone. I had been answering the phone. Send. She sent a message. She was sending a message. She had sent a message. She had been sending a message. Receive. He received the parcel. He was receiving the parcel. He had received the parcel. He had been receiving the parcel. Help. I helped her. I was helping her. I had helped her. I had been helping her. Follow. She followed the map. She was following the map. She had followed the map. She had been following the map. Ask. He asked a question. He was asking a question. He had asked a question. He had been asking a question. Answer. They answered quickly. They were answering quickly. They had answered quickly. They had been answering quickly. Watch. I watched a movie. I was watching a movie. I had watched a movie. I had been watching a movie. Listen. She listened to music. She was listening to music. She had listened to music. She had been listening to music. Shout. He shouted loudly. He was shouting loudly. He had shouted loudly. He had been shouting loudly. Kick. I kicked the ball. I was kicking the ball. I had kicked the ball. I had been kicking the ball. Break. She broke the glass. She was breaking the glass. She had broken the glass. She had been breaking the glass. Grow. The plant grew fast. The plant was growing fast. The plant had grown fast. The plant had been growing fast. Dig. He dug a hole. He was digging a hole. He had dug a hole. He had been digging a hole. Throw. She threw the ball. She was throwing the ball. She had thrown the ball. She had been throwing the ball. Ride. I rode a bike. I was riding a bike. I had ridden a bike. I had been riding a bike. Begin. They began the game. They were beginning the game. They had begun the game. They had been beginning the game. End. It ended badly. It was ending badly. It had ended badly. It had been ending badly. Win. He won the race. He was winning the race. He had won the race. He had been winning the race.